hated my job. Plain and simple, I hated it. I used to sit in my car. My hands were gripping the steering wheel. I was just dreading walking through the doors of that place. I used to think, I cannot go in there. I cannot bear another day, another hour, another minute in that place. But then I would think about my mortgage, my commitments to my husband and my son, and in I would go, dragging a big load of grievances into that place.
You mentioned grievances. What were some of the grievances?
I felt like the filling in an Oreo cookie, if you know what I mean. I was squished between the demands of my bosses and my staff. As a low-level supervisor, it seemed I couldn't make anybody happy. Of course, the person I was making the least happy was myself.
What do you mean?
There was so much I didn't understand about myself and the workplace I was in, what I now call the system. I was lucky, though. I got a very powerful wake-up call, which literally knocked me out of my self-imposed prison.
Your self-imposed prison?
Created by my own flawed
Belief system.
Okay, what was the wake-up call?
Well, believe it or not, it came in the form of a radio.
A what?
A radio. It wasn't anything I heard on the airwaves. It was the result of a radio being in the air, sailing across the room, hurled in my direction by a coworker, another supervisor.
Whoa.
Didn't hit me, but it made a loud clanging sound as it landed in the metal waste can beside my desk. I didn't know it at the time, but that sound, metal hitting metal, clanging, sent reverberations of awakening which impact me to this very day.
Really? So what did you learn?
The first thing I learned, believe it or not, centered around forgiveness. I learned from reading a book that most of us are afraid to look within because we're afraid that what we will find is only darkness. That book went on to say that if we looked deeply enough, what we would find is only light. That stopped me dead in my tracks. And instantly I had the thought, if I am only light, then so is he. That person who had thrown the radio at me. In that instant, I got something. I got that he, the man who threw the radio at me, and me, we were the same. We were not different. We are the same. The second thing that came out of that incident was the realization that I couldn't change the system. I had been butting heads against a system that, because of its very nature as a hierarchy, was designed around principles of power, competition, and scarcity. And I couldn't change that. And close on the heels of that realization, the realization that I couldn't change the system, came the understanding that I could change myself. I could stop pointing the finger of blame at other people, as I like to say, stop shooting on others.
Okay.
And begin taking responsibility for my own well-being and happiness. You know, Eleanor Roosevelt said, no one can make you feel anything without your consent. And I stopped giving my power to anyone else around me.
That's really interesting. Anything else?
Yes, absolutely. And this is important. I decided to be the leader I wanted others to be. I may have been a low-level supervisor, but I began to do my job with compassion and understanding for those who were under my quote-unquote care. I still held them accountable, but I saw them differently. I saw them through the eyes of compassion, and therein was the difference. I remember something that Plato said. Plato said, be kind, because everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle. I believe that is so true. And if we could just all remember that, we could begin to change the world by changing ourselves.